Hi everybody, Joe here from SHUTTERSPEAK Photography. So got the wrap off the arm, doing a little bit better, healing up, and today I'd like to share with you a video on the Nikon Z6 and also applies to the Nikon Z7 series camera. I'm going to show you how I set up the My Menu feature in the Nikon Z6 or Z7 and the settings that I add to my menu and why. And some of these settings are going to be a lifesaver for you. If you haven't set up my menu, you're going to want to watch this and you're going to want to follow along. Even if you have, there may be a couple of features in here that you're going to want to add to yours. This also applies also to really any Nikon camera. It would work. Most of these settings work just the same with the Nikon D850 or any of the Pro Series Nikon cameras. However, there are a few features here that are unique just to mirrorless, and I'll mention those. So let's take a look. Okay, so here we are inside the menu system of a Nikon Z6. The same settings would apply also to a Nikon Z7. Most of these would apply to a D850 or any other Pro Series, D810, D800, any other Pro Series Nikon camera. There's a couple of exceptions, and when we touch upon an exception, I'll mention those. But for the most part, these should work in the majority of Nikon Pro cameras. Okay, so when you first hit the menu button on the back of your camera, you're going to be in the playback menu, and on the left hand side, if you scroll down to the very bottom, you're going to see the option that says My Menu. So we add options that we're going to utilize over and over and over again into the My Menu setting by selecting Add Items. Now the purpose of this is the items that we add to the My Menu settings will remain here permanently. Now these are quick shortcuts to get to features that we're going to use all the time with our Nikon professional series cameras, the Z6, the Z7, the D850. These are lifesavers. Some of these, rather than digging through menus when you need to change a particular setting, having these most often used items quickly available at your fingertips is going to save you a tremendous amount of time, and it could save you the difference between getting a shot and not getting it. So let's get started. So the first thing that I want to add is I'm going to select Add Items, and we are going to go into the Setup menu. Select the Setup menu, and I'm going to select Format Memory Card, and we'll just hit that, and now it's saved to the My Menu, and you'll see it appear up at the top. So with previous series Nikon cameras like the D850, D810, the D3, D4, D5, and now the D6, there were a combination of buttons that you could push on the camera body that would format the memory card. Formatting the memory card is always a great idea to do at the start of any shoot so that you're working with a clean slate. Okay, obviously make sure you've downloaded your images first before you do that, but that's why it's crucial to have this right at the top of your My Menu settings, because this is something that you're going to use all the time. So now you have quick access to format your memory card. Okay, so the next thing I would like to do is I'm going to add another item. Okay, we're going to add the ability to do auto bracketing, because personally I love to do HDR shots, cityscapes, landscapes, and HDR is something that I like to do all the time. So we're going to go to the photo shooting menu, and then we are going to add auto bracket. So let's scroll through here until we find auto bracketing, which seems to be hiding. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're going to say OK, and now it's appeared again in the My Menu for us. Okay, and at the end we're going to probably just go back and realign these so that they're in the order that we'd like them to be in. But so now we have quick access by hitting auto bracketing. It'll quickly bring us into the bracketing menu where we can choose the number of shots that we want to bracket and the number of stops that we want to change in case we're doing bracketed sets of high dynamic range photos for real estate photography, landscapes, cityscapes, etc. Let's bounce back to My Menu, and now Okay, so the next thing I'd like to do is add in the ability to control the ISO of the camera via the auto ISO settings. So let's say, for example, I was photographing a concert or an event where the light is very dynamic and changing all the time. I'm going to want to use auto ISO because again, it's just a very dynamic situation where lighting is changing constantly, and the camera does a great job at monitoring and choosing the correct ISO, and I trust it, and like I said, I think it works great. But then there are other times, if we're shooting portraits or something like that, where we know the ISO that we want, and we don't want the ISO to change, or maybe even a landscape where we're choosing our ISO, we don't want it to change. So let's click on, let's go back to my menu, click on Add Items. Okay, and we are going to go into the photo shooting menu, and we're going to select right on ISO sensitivity settings, and then we're going to go down to auto ISO and hit OK. And actually, we're going to move it down to the bottom there, and there we go. Okay, so that is in. Next thing that I like to add is also the ability to change the ISO control, basically so that the camera in auto ISO will not drop below a specified minimum that I set. So again, same thing, add items. We're going to go to the same menu, photo shooting. We're going to just now hit OK on ISO sensitivity right there, and we're going to place that at the bottom, and there we go. So that's saved. Okay. After that, I like to add in the ability to add a delay to my exposure. Now, let me explain to you why you would want to add a delay. Let's say you're out at night and you're going to photograph the Milky Way galaxy. You're on a tripod. You don't have a remote with you. By using the exposure delay setting, what we can do is choose a ½ second or a 1 second delay so that we can push this shutter button on the camera, and the camera will automatically give a ½ second or a 1 second delay before it fires that exposure off, so that any vibration in our tripod has ceased from us touching the camera and by pushing the button. So exposure delay is kind of like just a nice tool to have in your toolbox if you don't have a remote and you're in this need to use a remote, but you don't have one. So, all right, let's click on Add Items. Okay, and we are going to go to the Custom Settings menu. And then we are going to go to Shooting and Display. So you have to right-click on there. Don't select OK on that one. You have to click right, and then select number 4, Exposure Delay. And then we're going to put that at the bottom of our menu by scrolling down and hitting OK. And it appears at the bottom of the settings for my menu. The next thing I like to add is silent photography. Again, if this is something where you're shooting a wedding, a christening, you're in a church or a temple or something like that where you need to be absolutely silent. Silent photography is the way that you're going to want to go. So you're going to go to the photo settings menu, select the right button on your directional pad, okay, and then scroll down, and we're going to look for silent photography. And there it is, and say OK. Now we're going to put that down at the bottom underneath exposure delay, and it's saved. Okay. The next thing that I like to add is a framing grid. Okay, this is a nice way to set up your landscapes or something like that by being able to display a grid on the back of your camera display, so that you can see how things line up with the rule of thirds or however you want to do things. So we're going to go into the Custom Settings menu, select right with your directional pad, Okay, and then from there we're going to go down to shooting and display. Again, select right, and we're going to choose framing grid display. Press OK. Now let's bring that down below. And there it is. Okay, next thing I like to do is have a setting for the new auto area autofocus with the face and eye detection, because every now and again you need to reset this, so I like to have this handy also. So again, we're going to select add item, we're going to go to custom settings, and then we're going to go to autofocus, select right, and then here we go, autofocus, and let's drop that one down to the bottom under framing grid, and it's saved in my menu. Next thing I like to do is add in a setting for monitor brightness. Now, why would we want monitor brightness? Well, let's say you're out in the field. You're going to shoot a nighttime situation on a tripod. It's very dark out. By using the monitor brightness setting, what you can do is you can lower the brightness of the monitor, because if you don't do that, anything that you see on the back of your monitor at normal brightness is going to look super bright, and it's not going to be realistic to what you're actually capturing because you're in absolute darkness. So what you do is you're going to set, when you're outside, you're going to set your monitor brightness. We're going to select it there and bring it all the way down below autofocus. Okay, and I'll show you what that does. By selecting that, you can change the brightness or the darkness of your image, okay, that you're seeing after you take the picture. And again, the reason why you're doing this is you're outside. You're shooting the Milky Way galaxy. You're in absolute darkness. That screen is going to be so bright that you're going to incorrectly think that the pictures that you're taking are super bright. So when you're in that situation, you bring your monitor brightness down as low as you can, so that you're seeing things a little bit more realistically. The way you would see them in a lit room. So from there, I also like to have image review as an option. So I'm going to go to add items, and that is in the playback menu, and we're going to scroll down and select image review, and we're going to put that down at the bottom. I like to shut off image review sometimes so that I'm not seeing images on the back of my camera, to save battery life. And maybe I'm shooting a concert or an event and I'm rapid firing, or a sports event where I'm rapid firing. I don't want images constantly popping up on the back of my screen. It saves some battery, and also it's just going to make things work a little bit easier for you. Okay, so that pretty much is everything that I add to the My Menu setting. Now, if you want to change the order of them, let me show you how to do this. So we're going to click on Rank Items, and now I'm going to take Format Memory Card. I'm going to select OK, and I'm just going to move it up one because I want that at the top. Select OK again. And there you have it right up at the top, and we have realigned those so that you could use that setting to pretty much change any of these items that you've put in the My Menu. So there you have it. That's how I set this up. I hope you find it useful. This again should work for pretty much any camera, but some of the ones that aren't going to work for you, you may not find things like auto area face detection, because that's not a feature that was available in a D850, a D800, D600, etc. So that's one that's not going to work for you. But aside from that, maybe also silent photography, that may be in a different location on some cameras, depending on what camera you have. But for a Z6 or Z7, you're going to find it where we did in this video. So I hope you find that helpful. And if you did, please do me a favor and hit the like button, and also hit the subscribe button so that you can see future videos. And again, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.